but also ask yourself, how did this become a culture war? I mean, this is one of the most lamentable aspects of this whole thing.
That's right.
And a big part of it is exactly what you're describing, this determination of the sort of well-educated in our society to, rub the faces of their inferiors in their, in their failure and their sickness and this kind of thing. And it's like, that's not how you persuade people. I don't know, maybe this is going to be, I think this is like a really novel idea to a lot of Americans, but scolding people doesn't generally bring them around. Scolding people in this manner. And I often think, in the big picture historical, like how would you handle, we've had other pandemics in American life and we've handled them much better. Now, why is that? Well, one of the reasons is because the people who are causing, who are not getting vaccinated now, back then had organizations that you could go to. For example, labor unions, for example, neighborhood clubs, whatever, churches, whatever. And those organizations are by and large gone today. And so they experience this whole conversation about healthcare and vaccinations as a one-way street, as people like us yelling at people like them. And that's just not a good way to to sell this stuff.
No, you're exactly right. And part of the thing, we tracked this in our show today, there is a new call. Jimmy Kimmel just did a big call yesterday on his show, and he was like, and he was making a joke, but he was saying, well, if you're vaccinated and you have a heart attack, we'll treat you. And if you're not vaccinated, RIP, essentially just, really celebrating the death of people who won't want to get vaccinated. And as I pointed out, this flies entirely in the face of the original idea behind Obamacare, which he fought to protect, which is you should not be able to deny people health care based upon a pre-existing condition. So I'm curious, how, because I've tracked culture war, how it rots the brains of people on the right, but it's very clear that it's also
it's
very much on the left as well.
I used to write about this as well. Remember What's the Matter with Kansas?
Yes.
I was astonished by this once I started digging into it. It's everywhere now. It's both sides. And there's also this, what you're describing is this kind of punitive impulse on the left. This impulse to scold and correct and punish, discipline and punish on the left. And that is, I don't want to say it's new because somebody will immediately call in and be like, no, we can trace this all the way back to whatever, But it's something that feels new to me and feels recent and feels shocking and feels really uncomfortable. And you see it also in the demands for censorship, which you guys know all about. Of course. And this is all over the place in the sort of new liberalism, and it's. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time to go into every argument that I've made in the last couple of years, but I just want to say, I want to emphasize this. This is not how you build a left movement.
Right.
By scolding people and shushing people and telling people to go off and die. That's not how you do it.
Do you think that that's their goal, though? Because to me, it's so clear that scolding and censorship and constant purification of, everybody must have always believed the correct things from birth. It's so obvious that that's not the way to build a left movement. That it seems to me that that's you and me. But it seems to me that that's not even their goal. It seems to me that oftentimes the goal is, I'm going to show how virtuous I am. I'm going to build my own personal clout. This is good for my brand. This is good for my personal profile on Twitter or whatever. The goal is not to persuade people to get vaccinated or to build a movement that could end in universal health care. The goal is their own sort of personal prestige.
Righteousness, personal self-righteousness, or alternately therapy. Christopher Lasch wrote about this back in the 70s.
Right.
This is, but you're exactly right that the goal is not to build a movement, and it's to feel good about yourself, to feel like you're more right. It's the old impulse. This has been a problem in left land since forever, that there's two basic impulses at war. One is we've got to build, if we want to reform this society in a democratic way, if we want to make healthcare universal, if we want to make the economy not so predatory, if we want to do any of these things, the only way to do it is with a mass movement of ordinary working class people. That's how it's done. We know that from history. That's pretty clear. The other impulse on the left is I'm better than you. You know, and the people who are on the left for that reason are not generally interested in building a mass movement. They're interested in purging. They're interested in kicking people out. They're interested in subtraction, not addition.
Yeah,
it's interesting, especially in the context when we have this tear sheet. Let's go ahead and put the Guardian one up there on the screen because I do think this is very important.
Oh,
the
look
title
at the picture
there.
of me.
That's a good photo.
No, it's dreadful.
For those who are just listening, it's liberals want to blame right-wing misinformation for our problems. Get real. You talk a little bit, a story there of listening to a speech by Hillary Clinton and Melinda Gates, which I can't imagine how you got through that was.
I remember that like it was yesterday.
Tell us about what you're talking
in your
about.
mind.
This is important.
It was in 2015. I was writing Listen Liberal, and I went to a Clinton Foundation event in New York, and they were. A big part of it was celebrating social media as a kind of millennium. You know, social media had destroyed all the barriers to, anybody can participate in any conversation now. Social media was like, it was like. I mean, it's like a religious thing. It was the dawning of the golden age or something like that. And they all agreed on this. And we were supposed to sort of worship Silicon Valley and worship the entrepreneurs who had built social media. And I thought that was very amusing. It was all about like complete freedom of expression, you know, Facebook, Twitter. It's so wonderful. And now these. I don't know if it's the same liberals, but generally speaking, liberals from that faction of the Democratic Party are so keen to censor social media.
Yeah, they are.
And to suppress misinformation. By the way, I was thinking about this on the way over here, because I've been on the left a long time. I'm considerably older than you guys. And censorship was always something that we identified with the other side.
Right.
This is something that right-wingers did. We on the left knew better than that, you know, for all sorts of reasons. But it is fascinating to me that that liberals now are absolutely sold on the idea that we have to suppress misinformation or else they will never be able to win another election in this country. And you know, it's so wrong-headed in so many ways. But it also, you know, just think of what you could do with that, right? If we really are, okay, and I'm just counterfactual here.
Okay.
I'm going to play around because I'm not the language police. I let people say whatever the hell they want. But I just wrote a whole book about how academics, foundation people, liberals, all these people are using the word populist wrong.
Yes.
When do I get to suppress them?